Dear students, we'll continue the teaching learning process of Unit 1. Now we will discuss about principles of teaching. So we have already seen regarding the teaching learning process, what is teaching, what is learning, what is the teaching learning process and the communication, and also we have seen the elements of teaching learning process, and we have seen regarding factors influencing learning, laws of learning, and also the functions of learning. So these all things we have seen, and now we can start with the teaching, the important aspects of teaching. So first we can see principles of teaching. So the first principle is principle of motivation. So we can say that the mind of the student is like a folded parachute. So we have to open the mind in such a way that the functioning of this particular equipment will be proper when we are opening the parachute, or just similar to that, we have to open the mind of the student and they should get inspired into the teaching learning process. Then only learning happens. So the first principle of teaching is we have to motivate the student by principle of motivation. So whenever we are taking classes for them, we have to inspire the students and we have to open the mind of the students by giving proper motivation. So that is about the principle of motivation. The second principle is principle of activity. So the teacher should be alert, smart, and follow suitable method of teaching. That is the activity from the part of students, and also very importantly, the teacher should be more active. Teacher should monitor the students. They should follow the students' activities, and they should be smart, and also they should have the capacity to use the suitable methods in teaching learning process. So that is about the principle of activity. The third principle is teacher should arouse interest in students. So that we can read along with the first principle, principle of motivation. So this is the responsibility of the teacher to arouse the interest in students, so they will be interested towards the topic, they will be opening their mind, and they will be receiving the stimulus which is given by the teacher. So that is about the teacher should arouse the interest in students. That is the third principle. Fourth principle, there should be well defined objectives. Whenever the teacher is preparing the content, it should be based on the objectives, and we have to weigh the importance of that particular objectives in the total curriculum. So whenever I am talking about this particular principles of teaching, what is the importance of teaching this particular principles of teaching, and whether it is sufficient to list down that particular objectives, or list down the principles, or is it necessary to explain it the students how they will be asked for examination this particular content. So these all ways we have to weigh the objectives of this particular sessions. So there should be well defined objectives what we wanted, whether a listing down or explanation, and according to that the teacher has to prepare the content for that particular objectives. So that is a fourth principle, there should be well defined objectives. Next principle, fifth principle is principle of individual differences. So whenever we are teaching the students in a classroom or in a clinical area, we have to understand that the individual student is different. When we are facing the student as a batch or 50 students or 60 students, we have to understand that individually there will be differences. The intelligence, the abilities, the capacities, the level of the students, socioeconomic background, everything will be different, and according to that the students' ability to learn also will be differing. So we have to understand that there will be individual differences among the students. So that's about the fifth principle of individual difference. The next one is principle of creativity. So initially in the third principle we have seen that second principle we have seen that principle of active or principle of activity, and that is from the teacher side. Now in the creativity we have to provide active activities for the students so that they make the classroom active one. So we are giving some activity for the students to use their creativity in assignments and in all activities so that the students will be active in the classroom. That's the principle of creativity. Principle of selection, that is teaching methods, AV8s and textbooks, etc. So teacher, whenever she is preparing the content for their students or her students, she has to follow the principle of selection. Suitable teaching methodology she has to adopt. Audiovisual aids should be prepared in such a way that the objectives are met and more learning happens. And the selection of textbooks. Variety of textbooks are available in the nursing education or in educational backgrounds, but she has to select wisely so that enough content is given to the student. The information which is given to the student is correct, and according to the quality and quantity we have to meet the objectives. So that is a principle of selection. She has to select wisely the teaching methods, audiovisual aids and textbooks. The principles of teaching is continued. That is the principle of division. Present the content in a well organized steps. So when we are discussing a particular disease condition, that disease condition we are dividing in different headings. That means the definition, the meaning, etiology, causative factors or risk factors, then pathophysiology, clinical manifestations, diagnosis, and the management itself we can divide in different headings like medical management, nursing management, surgical management and other allied care. So these all will be the division of the topics. So whenever we are discussing a particular topic, we have to divide the content in suitable headings. So in nursing education also, we will be dividing the content, actually the teaching learning process. But we are dividing the content like definition, meaning, it may be required, meaning, definition, then principles, maxims of teaching. In such a way, we are dividing the content so that under different headings, they can write the answers. They can understand that particular concept. That is a principle of division. Present the content in a well organized steps. The next one is principle of revision and practice. So in between the sessions we have to revise, and at the end also we have to revise. So in the principles of teaching, that is a revision of practice, revision and practice. So whenever we are taking a 1 hour class, in between the sessions we have to, in between each headings we have to revise what is discussed already, and at the end also we have to revise, and in between the year or in between the period also we have to revise the content so that the law of exercise, that is use and disuse, can be better utilized in teaching learning process. That is the principle of revision and practice. Principle of correlation, that is with previous or related knowledge. So whenever we are discussing a new topic, that particular topic should be related to their previous knowledge and the related knowledge. On the general knowledge we can bring to the classroom, or we can connect the present knowledge with the previous knowledge what they have in that particular topic. So that's about the principle of correlation. With the previous knowledge and with the related knowledge we should be able to correlate it. And the last principle is principle of connecting with life. So whenever we are teaching any concept, any new knowledge, or when we are giving information to the student, we have to connect with the personal life and also to the reality. That is principle of connecting with life. So we cannot make a teaching in vacuum. We have to relate it with the real life of the student and also to the teacher. So that is the principle of connecting with life. So in this session we have discussed about the principles of teaching. So, principle of motivation, principle of activity. Teachers should arouse interest in students. The next principle was there should be well-defined objectives. Principle of individual difference, principle of creativity, principle of selection, principle of division, principle of revision and practice, and principle of correlation, and one more thing, that is principle of connecting with life. So hope you all understood this particular content. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.